Hey, everybody, it's Rich Tola. Thanks for tuning in to Tola Talks Texas. It's Tuesday, December 28th. Means there's 4 days left in the year. Well, we're going to be talking about working out. Did you work out yesterday? Did you get it in? I went back. You listened to the show yesterday. I cut my workout short, but I did go back to finish the abs and the biceps. But let's just jump right in here. Hey, saying hello to my Texas family, I guess the new world of Texas. And what do we know about Texas? Like to give a little trivia here. State symbols. You know what your state symbols are? A lot of different symbols. But let's talk about fruits and vegetables because we're going to stay healthy. Stay healthy today. What's the Texas fruit? It's the red grapefruit. Not much of a grapefruit fan myself, but yeah, maybe I'll try the red grapefruit. What about the vegetable? This one's pretty cool. The Texas vegetable. Anybody know? Trivia? It's the 1015 onion. What's that mean to be 10? I looked that up. I said, what does that mean, 1015? Well, there's sweet onions. It's also called the $1 million baby. Why? Because it took 10 years of extensive research and never-ending testing, plus $1 million budget to produce the onion. That's right. That's where they got the 1015, I guess. And that's what they said. It produced an onion that has a very succulent and crisp flesh with mild, exceptionally flavorful, sweet taste. Wow, that's a mouthful. Well, I guess $1 million will get you that. Succulent, crisp, mild, exceptionally flavorful, sweet taste. Way to go, Texas, with your grapefruits and onions. Cool, guys. Let's jump right into current events. Omicron is the word of the year or the week or whatever this is. It's the flu. AKA the flu, I guess because we're talking about many, many cases. Flu, when you get the flu, there's a lot of cases. Remember back in school when one kid got the flu, the whole school got the flu. And you got the flu, your mom got the flu. But there haven't been any significant numbers of deaths, right? Here's what I liken this to. I was a big baseball player. You guys know that. It's like telling somebody how many times a player goes to the plate. Right? Guy bats 100 times, 200 times, 1,000 times. Does that really matter? No. What matters is averages, percentages. Now, it doesn't matter how many times he went to the plate. That's irrelevant. What matters is the statistics, the percentages of what it is you're determining, right? Like batting average. That's a hits percentage. Everybody knows what a batting average is, right? So if you go up to the plate 10 times and you get 2 hits, you safely reach base with 2 hits, double, triple, whatever it is, single. That's a 200 percentage or 200 batting average, or they call it, 200, right? Yeah, or the Mendoza line, if you know what that is. But anyway, what about on-base percentage, right? It means how many times you get on base, regardless of how you get on base, divided by total number of bats, slugging percentage. So these percentages use the total number as the basis, right? But nobody cares about the total number. When you tell somebody he's batting 357, they don't say, well, how many at-bats did he have? What difference does it make? Because you're comparing apples to apples when you're comparing averages, right? Well, here's another thing. I talked to a buddy of mine yesterday. We talk about this. He's like me. He's not vaxxed, and he's not getting vaxxed. And he says, yeah, what? And he's a younger guy. I said, back in the 80s, guys, anybody back in the early 80s who knows anything about what the government did to pot, marijuana, right? War on drugs. It was the Reagan era. And they really used that to, I guess, get elected or stay elected. We won't get into all that, but there's no doubt that what they did to the marijuana plant, which is pretty bad, they shrouded it in darkness for 40 years now, right? Nobody ever dies from smoking pot. Look that up. Nobody dies from smoking pot, right? So it's funny because in the early 80s, well, actually at Penn, it was 1985, I took this health class in the graduate school. There were no exams, but you had to write this like 20-page paper. And I found that paper when I moved this time. Can you believe it? I found the paper handwritten, because there were no computers back then, handwritten, called The Health Effects of Marijuana. And that's what I basically wrote. I wanted to know because I think a year before, I started, around college we're smoking, whatever. And I wanted to know, like, what are the health hazards of marijuana? And that's what it was, this report. I remember I read this book with Nancy Reagan, wrote a foreword of it. But basically, what they found was long-term use, because they used rhesus monkeys to do this test for years, and they just said long-term use, you had memory, you had some issues with long-term memory and reproductive. Like I think the sperm was less productive or less effective over time. There's two things that I remember. It's amazing. So all this testing, and that's what they proved for men. I don't know if they got into the women thing, but all I know is those were the two things I remember: memory loss and sperm count or reduction in sperm count. So that's what they determined: long-term use of smoking pot. They compared different types of people that smoke with they did it with the rhesus monkeys. So anyway, that's kind of what I think is going on here. What we're talking about is they're taking this flu and they're turning it into something really bad, right? Is it really bad? What's really bad? They're shrouding it in darkness. Now let's go back to the 80s with AIDS, right? The AIDS virus. When the AIDS virus came about, it was all about finding a cure, not a vaccine. Never heard the word vaccine. It was about finding a cure, okay? And they didn't go around testing testing everybody. It wasn't like, let's test you. There was no testing done, all right? So this is why, I'm confused. That's why I said I'm confused. What is going on? Because oftentimes, government intervention sucks. We know that. Government gets involved, and it's great, okay? We talked about strong support the weak. I've been saying that the last few days. What about the politicians? The politicians are getting rich off of some of this stuff, I'm sure. But anyway, I'm not going to be bashing the world because you think what you think. But I am confused. I do get confused over this, and I'm going to agree with Texas Republican Rand Paul. All right, let me quote him here. I just read this morning. He says, "I think Fauci, we know who Dr. Fauci is of the philosophy that vaccines are incredibly successful and are the way to go versus therapeutics, for example." So with regard to AIDS, here we go, talking AIDS, he was involved as the AIDS epidemic came up. He wanted to develop a vaccine. There's nothing wrong with that. He wanted to develop a vaccine. Vaccines can be great for polio or smallpox. It didn't actually work for AIDS. Yeah, there was no vaccine for AIDS, right? It was all about the cure. Then he goes on to talk about antibodies. Antibodies are one of the most promising treatments for the virus after a person has been infected, but that misinformation on antibody treatment plagues government bureaucrats. Fact. Here's a fact. The antibodies cuts the risk of death by 70 to 80%. The person's been infected. Now, Randy's also a physician, okay? What's the moral to the story, guys? I mean, where's America going, right? What about freedom? I mean, are we ruining this country? And I say we. What is we? With these current methodologies, tests, quarantining, mandates, now you're going to tell people they can't fly domestically because you're making a personal choice, something that you choose to do, to not put a drug in your body that's unproven in the long term. I mean, it's kind of like a supplemental treatment, right? You want to get a vaccine? That's a supplemental treatment. That's your choice. Why is it you have to do that? The word mandate, that's a rough word, okay? All the testing that's done, millions and billions of dollars. Where's that money going? I mean, who's profiting from that money? But you could look at it in any way you want, but we're still in this, and how long it's going to take for us to come out of this. All I know is it affects everything. It affects markets, affects the stock markets, crypto markets. We're going to talk about that briefly. It affects relationships, friends, family. I mean, everybody's arguing about this, right? We're on different sides of the fence. You're separating people. That's what's going on. That's what's sad about it. It really is. That's what gets me confused about it. I remember when I first moved in here, I bought a table off of this gentleman, and we got talking, and he brought it up. He brought up the vaccine, and I said to him, well, I'm not vaccinated. He immediately took 5 steps back, which was fine, because all of a sudden I had leprosy. Step back. And he said, well, that's a personal choice. I said, well, I'm glad you think that. That's a personal choice, because the politicians don't think it's a personal choice. Again, if you're highly susceptible and you believe that the vaccine is going to help you, which I guess it could very well help you, even though we talked yesterday. I know a lot of people now. I mean, examples, people are calling me in that they do you have the vaccine? But matter of fact, a friend of mine called me last night, and she said, when I got the booster, I was sick for 3 days, really bad, because it's like I had a bad flu for 3 days after getting the booster. Had to get the booster. Was going to lose her job. Was going to lose her pension. Well, anyway, it's sad to think that. But let's move on. In other news, something, I don't know if this is better or worse, but how about this whack job? Some 51-year-old, do you guys see this? Go check out the video. 51-year-old ex-raider, cheerleader, Playboy model, Baywatch actress, although she was on one episode of Baywatch, she was on one episode of Married with Children, turned jet-setting realtor. I like that word, realtor. I got a lot of friends that are in the real estate business, and that was always like a funny word. I liked real estate agent, real estate salesperson, realtor. Kind of brings it down a little bit. Anyway, she's facing federal assault charges after hitting an 80-year-old man on a flight from Tampa to Atlanta. Patricia Cornwall is her name. Go check out the video. It's unbelievable. It's an altercation she has with this older gentleman about wearing the mask, right? Here we go, masks. I'm not even going to talk about the situation with the masks, but do they work? You know, again, this is all personal choice, but where did it become that there's no such thing as personal choice? But she struck this guy with a closed fist. By the way, this whack job, she was arrested last month for DUI, driving under the influence, which we talked about that in another episode. It's unbelievable, right? Make bad choices. Now here she is. She's going to fight that. I don't know, guys. It's really it's getting nasty out there, okay? Nasty out there to be personal, have personal freedoms. Whatever happened to freedoms, right? And we talked about the Martians coming. Who's going to be fighting? Well, I'll be out there, guys, no doubt. Anyway, let's jump into some more positive news. Drinking from the fountain of youth. Kudos, I'm going to give a shout out to Natalie Carter. She's from Birmingham, the UK. She's awesome. Natalie Carter, you guys see this? She lost 118 pounds in 11 months after she saw a photograph of herself in PJs from last Christmas, okay? 118 pounds in 11 months, right? Do the math. What's that? 10 pounds a month, 11 pounds a month. We talked about that. You could lose 10 pounds in 2 weeks. She did a great job from 282 pounds down to 164. Way to go, Natalie. Way to be a role model. She was absolutely mortified, she said, after seeing the photograph. Inspired her. Whatever's going to inspire you to be your best self, that's what you got to do. If it's a photograph, that's great. If it's for your friend that you're working out with, your best friend who, I don't know, you admire, or someone like me who you're just listening to me talk about working out, another day, another workout. That's me. Today I worked out this morning. Felt good. Yesterday, you guys listened to the show, had some major I was all sorts of issues. Have issues almost every day, but the shoulders were particularly messed up yesterday, so I cut it short, improvised. But I was back to my usual self, supersetting. Remember what supersets are? When you take 2 exercises and you do them back to back without taking a break. So I do dips and pull-ups. I love to superset. Those are the first 2 I do. Again, abs and stretching. Stretch and abs is the first thing I do. So today, I stretched out pretty good, felt good, because the stretching, to me, is like taking my temperature. So when I'm stretching, I'm hanging, kind of I'm taking inventory of what's going on in my body, right? And again, guys, when you go to work out, no matter what you do, walking, swimming, yoga, weights, I believe in weights. I think the only way to sculpt your body is to use weights. But that said, the key is to take an inventory when you first start, right? I take this inventory, and based on that inventory of how I'm feeling, because it's all about feelings, I go from there, right? I adjust my workouts based upon how I'm feeling. You have to do that. But I never quit, okay? Even if I'm feeling the worst I've ever felt, if I'm a little under the weather, or whatever, I don't get sick. But if that's the case, I'll do abs. I'll lay on the ground, stretch and abs. But anyway, Go there today, feeling really good. The feelings was there. I had the energy. It's like 6 o'clock in the morning. Got a little late start today. Not sure why, but try to get there by 5:30, by 6 o'clock. And I said, no, let's get back right to the regular workout, which I did. Boom, superset. Then I move on to my chest. Then I do 3 or 4 sets. Then I move on to my back. Today I did about 7 or 8 sets of back because I was feeling pretty good with back. Then I did shoulders. Jump right into shoulders. I did actually 2 different exercises, 3 sets each. So I did 6 sets of shoulders because the shoulders came back strong today, right? I even did legs today. By the way, I only do legs twice a week, 3 times a week. And I did a partial leg workout because what I'll do is I'll do the inner, outer, sometimes the leg press. But in any event, did a little bit of legs today, feeling really good. And then what I didn't do today was biceps. Why? Because I went back yesterday. Remember I said that? I did go back to the gym yesterday to do bis and abs for 20 minutes. I did 10 minutes of abs, probably 25 minutes because I did a couple extra sets of biceps. So I said, don't need to do bis today and don't even need to go back to the gym. Now, that's me because I look at it, remember 15 minutes, if you know my 15-minute fat-burning workouts, 15 minutes equals 1% of your day or of your life, however you want to look at it on a daily basis. So I look at 3% a day minimum. I get that 3% in, and then I try to get another 2% of cardio, right? I used to walk, guys do the math. I used to walk 12 miles. That would take hours, but now I'm just doing a little biking, walking, whatever. So I try to get 5% in every day. Should at least get 1% in. You could wake up, roll out of bed, lay down, and stretch an abs for 15 minutes. That's your 1%. Or walk a mile. That's your 1%. Easy peasy. So, guys, get with the program. 4 days left. Challenge yourself. If you haven't worked out since Christmas, get 3 workouts in. Tell yourself, I'm going to work out 3 times, 2% each. That's 6%. 6%, that's a real tour's broker's fee. 6% for the real tour. Give it to yourself. That's 6%. Do it. Even if you walk 2 miles a day, do it. Just do it, in the words of the infamous Nike credo. Way to go. Let's jump right into cryptocurrencies. Here we go, guys. Cryptos. What was I saying yesterday about these? Volatility. It's through the roof. These things can drop 5% in no time, right? Well, look what happened to Bitcoin. When I was doing the show yesterday, Bitcoin was at 51,000. I was throwing those numbers around. I'm looking at it now. It's scratching the 59,000. It's 48,982 as we speak. Well, it did go up to 52,000 by noon, if you know it. So it was moving up, and you get excited when it's moving up. I do. I see the portfolio, and I'm like, wow, that's good. Maybe Bitcoin's going to hold and get to that 54, 55, which I thought or think it might close at that. But, the thing about these cryptocurrencies, if you're playing the game, guys, it'll break your heart. They break your heart because you got to wonder. You think, how come they just can't hold the line, right? I look at that and say, wow, I just can't hold 50,000. Come on, hold 50. But you got to remember, who are the big guys playing this game? These big institutions that got back in when Bitcoin crashed down to like 30, 34,000. I talked to another buddy of mine. He bought at 34,000. He's like, I don't know when to get out. I'm like, well, maybe you set your sights on a number and you pull out at that point. If you double your money, he's going to wait till the new year because he's in a high tax bracket. He doesn't want to get whacked with the taxes on that. But either way, take a look at if you're in the game. It's easy to get discouraged, right? You think to yourself, where's this going? It's at 49,000. It's hovering around 49,000. Well, at the end of day yesterday, it dropped 6% in about 10 hours. So it went from noon at 52. 10 o'clock at night, it was down to 49,000. And it's been sort of, bobbing around that level. You look at the week, it's kind of around that level. Again, we're talking about Bitcoin. The other ones, and look at the month for Bitcoin. You have to pick the number for the monthly average. It's going to be right where it is, about 49,000, right? 3 months, same. If you see where it is, it sort of wants to be around 49, 50,000. As for the other ones, they come down crashing harder. We talked about that. That's my experience. They come down harder. If Bitcoin's losing, they're going to lose more. Why? Well, they're considered more risky, right? Bitcoin's a little bit less risky than, again, we're talking about the cryptos on Robinhood, guys. I'm not talking about any others. So Don't get discouraged. I mean, it's easy to get discouraged on a short-term basis, but if you're thinking, hey, I'm looking into these into the new year, let's see, let's hope they run up. Maybe they run up in the first half of the year, but here's something to think about. Maybe you pick a number. That's what the experts say. The experts say pick a number and exit, right? You made your profit, like my buddy who bought at 34. If it gets back to 68 and it's January and you doubled your money in, 6 months, you might want to get out. You get back in. It's easy to get back in. So, you might want to get out, get in. And if you're going to be trading these things, there's another little, tidbit which I've experienced is if they run straight up, no matter what it is, right? If it's running straight up, it's going to come down. What goes up comes down. If you look at these, anytime it makes a run up, you might want to sell it and then wait for it to be less than where you sold it to buy it back. Anyway, it may not happen. That happened to me with Bitcoin. I mean, I sold it and then it ran up, and it, once it kind of goes north of a certain level, it may not come back down, but seems in the past it seems like they usually do. So there you go, guys. That's a little crypto for today. It's easy to get discouraged. It's easy to get your heart broken, but hang in there. And if you're looking just to get in and out, make a few bucks, get in and out. Don't worry about it. You don't have to stay in for the long term because some of these are pretty lousy for the long term if you think about it. But where are they going? Again, I think we're in the first inning, and it's a long game. All right, guys. That's it for today. Enjoy your day. Right here in Plano. I think it's going to rain, Plano, Texas. Might be raining. You guys are across the country. Whatever it is, get your workout in always. And we'll see you tomorrow. Peace.